this one, promotions, discounts, course updates, newsletters, blogs, things like that, please feel free to post your email in the chat, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that we're doing. So, Samir, go ahead, introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you guys are at. I'm Samir. I am a software engineer at a startup in Seattle, working remotely out of Texas right now. I just graduated from UC Berkeley in May, started working in August, and I'm also an instructor for Skillspire, with the data analytics courses. So I teach both the basic and advanced data analytics courses. So excited that y'all are here. It's good to see everybody. This is actually a huge crowd. So I'm very excited to just pitch to you guys what we do here at Skillspire, especially, focus on data analytics. We just started our new kind of setup with the 16 hours a week. We meet 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday. So I'm excited to tell y'all what we do here. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys in the future. So like Faye said, please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. No question is a stupid question, so just ask any questions that come to mind. I do sometimes get into the habit of going off for a long time, so I'm gonna pause every now and then and just ask if you guys have any questions. If you don't, it's fine. I'll just keep going. But we will have time for questions at the end as well. So that's all about me. Um, I want to hear from the rest of you now. Please, and go. Maybe you can go around the room. Phase, you can call out some people, let them introduce themselves, and then we can get started.
Yeah, guys. So feel free to. So usually how we start these workshops is we just kind of go around the room, and everyone just gives like a quick few points about themselves, their name, what you're currently up to, career, what kind of interested you about this workshop and why you chose to join. So feel free to kind of tell us a few things about yourself, and we'll go from there.
I'll start. Hi, my name is Jessica Goyo. I'm a database developer. It's been 8 years in this industry. I think I'm all about data. That's the only reason I'm in this workshop. It's my first time. Thank you.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Jessica. Okay.
Hi, my name is Dan. I'm up in Twin Cities, Minnesota, US. Just kind of trying to see how I can expand my skill sets from financial analysis to incorporate the data analytics.
Cool. Awesome. Nice to have you, Dan.
Thanks.
Okay. Who'd like to go next?
Hi, I'm Chantel. I'm in Washington State. This is my first workshop like this. I'm really just trying to see what this is about to pivot the skills that I have into tech. So I thought this would be a good start.
Cool. Awesome. Great to have you here.
I'll go next. My name is Berakhti. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I'm health information technician at the moment, but I'm here to expand my skill sets or improve my skill sets. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Great to have you here. Yeah, healthcare is a lot of healthcare people who are interested in DA, so that's good. Okay.
Hey people, Arun here. So I live in Bellevue. I'm a full stack guy. These days I'm getting some requirements on data analytics, so I thought of getting my hands dirty with data analytics.
Cool. Oh, so you're in full stack right now?
Hi, I'm Rav. I'm from India. So I'm having 7 years of experience. Right now, I just moved to Canada from last week. So now I'm gonna start my career in Canada. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. Great to have you here. Okay, so Russell says, hi, I'm Russell, and I just want to know more about data analytics. So cool, awesome. Okay, did someone raise their hand? Okay, anyone else would like to introduce themselves real quick? Just a few points about yourself, that's it. Okay, cool, sounds good. So Samir, if you would like to go ahead, we can go ahead and get started with the presentation.
Yes, sir. So let me just give you all a brief breakdown of what I'm going to be going through today. So I have a presentation that basically touches on what data analytics is briefly. I'm going to take you through what's called a data maturity model, which will give you some insights on the data industry and your possible career in data analytics. And then I'm going to touch on what we teach here at Skillspire, both in the introductory course and in the advanced course. Like I said, I'm actually just finishing up the first cohort of the introductory data analytics course. It went super well. I'll give you a little insight on that as well. Of course, like we mentioned before, please ask as many questions as you can. We'll do our best to answer them and leave you guys with a satisfactory experience from today. So that being said, just give me 1 second to share my screen really quickly and we can get started. Okay, so y'all see this right now? Faze, just let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So let's just start with what is data analytics. So everyone here, has probably heard, terms like big data, AI, machine learning being thrown around like casually these days. It's what's popular in the industry these days, along with cybersecurity as well. So data analytics basically deals with obviously data. It's a very, very broad subject, but if you wanted to give it a definition, it's basically trying to come up with insights and inferences that might help you or a company overcome a particular problem that you might have. So the basis of this is that everyone is collecting data today. In this day and age, everybody is collecting data, everybody has some data available to them. But in the raw form, data doesn't really mean anything. And data analytics basically allows you to look at that data in its raw form, analyze it, create some structure out of it, maybe create a couple of predictions, and like I said, help you work through a set of problems that you might have, or help your company work through a set of problems that it has. So that leads to why break into data analytics at all. So why are you guys here? First off, data analytics is the fastest growing job on LinkedIn and is estimated to create 11.5 million jobs by 2026. What that means is that since you guys are here now and hopefully trying to get into the industry right now, you guys are still early. So as you keep learning, as you climb that ladder in the industry, this just means that you're going to be able to command a better salary as the years go by. So by the time we hit 2026, when there's 11.5 million jobs opening up, the hope is that you guys have already got a head start, and then you're at a point where you can command like a very high salary. And that leads to our second point, which is the high pay. And according to Glassdoor, data scientists make an average of $116,000 per year, which makes that one of the most lucrative career options right now. And like I said, that kind of ties in with cybersecurity as well. So, I mean, of course, the 116,000 per year is the average, and that doesn't mean you're going to be making that, the first year you get in. But what that means is that's a pretty, possible goal to strive for. And I think since you guys are here, it shows that you want to get into the industry right now, get in early. And, I feel like all of y'all can aim for at least the average, which is 116,000 a year, which is pretty good. So both high demand and high pay, two very good points right there off the bat. Third point, career versatility. And what this means is that since data in this day and age is being used to drive decisions across every industry, you can basically choose which industry to work in. So for example, I heard someone was working in healthcare, right? So you can choose to work in healthcare, you can choose to work in IT, you can choose to work in sports, you can choose to work in banking. The possibilities are basically endless because everybody is using data today. Another, plus about the data industry is that it's easy to get started. So you guys might think, wow, okay, I need to be a computer whiz. I need to be super technical. I need to know this language. I need to know that language to get started. But that's not really true. So you can actually not know anything and still get started in the data analytics industry. So for example, I'll speak from my experience. I didn't study computer science at all in high school. But when I got to college, I actually got here as a physics major. I had no intention of doing anything computer science related, anything data related, but by I guess the luck of the draw, I kind of fell into a situation where I kind of switched from being a physics major to a data analytics major. And so having no prior computer science experience, having no prior, coding experience at all, I was able to start in data analytics. I caught on really quick. It's super easy to catch on. It's very interesting, which is also a huge plus. And so, if you guys are thinking, I don't have any prior technical experience and this and that, you're not at a disadvantage at all. It's going to be very easy for you to get in. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work obviously to get to the top, but that's how it is with everything, right? So it's super easy to get started. So none of you should be discouraged by any means. And I think the most important point here to make is that data analytics has a bunch of transferable skills. So you're going to be learning different programming languages. You're going to be learning project management. You're going to be learning critical thinking, problem solving. You're going to be learning how to, think through these different problems and kind of break them down so that you can use coding and use data analytics to kind of overcome those problems. And those skills are, needed across industries, across jobs, which is going to give you a huge advantage in terms of gaining jobs, in terms of being in the job market. So those are the basic points as to why you should break into data analytics. I'm sure you guys have your own reasons as well. I'm excited to hear about that in a few minutes. So what I'm going to be touching on today mostly, and this is kind of a taste of the first lecture of our introductory course. So I touched on this in the first lecture of our introductory course. And what it's called is the analytics maturity model. So what the analytics maturity model is it details the stages that represent the evolution of a company and its ability to manage its data and use that data to make decisions. So what you see here on your screen is the Gartner model. And there are a bunch of different models of analytics maturity, but I thought that this model, which is the Gartner model, kind of accurately represents or most accurately represents both the evolution of a company as well as the evolution of your career in data analytics. So as you can see, you have 4 stages: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. I'm going to be touching on all these 4, but before we really get into it, are there any questions so far? Any preliminary questions that anyone had that they want to ask? I'm just going to give you a second here to ask any questions you might have. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take it that there are no questions. Obviously, there's going to be time at the end for questions, but like I said, guys, don't be shy at all. It's best if you ask questions, makes it more collaborative, and then it also helps us, for the future so I can prepare, either material or answers for the questions that you have. So the first stage, descriptive analytics. So this is the most basic stage of the maturity model. And in this stage, you're basically trying to answer the question, what? So you're looking at the data that already exists, which is raw data that remember I said raw data doesn't really mean much to anybody. So you're looking at this raw data and you're trying to make sense of it. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to use tools like Excel, SQL, Power BI to summarize and visualize the data in a way that is understandable by yourself, and then also a layperson or your boss or someone who doesn't really work with data a lot. You're just trying to make them understand this data, which was in its raw form, in some way that they can say, okay, I see what the data is doing. I see what we can do with this data. So every company is using descriptive analytics, or they should be at least. I think 99% of companies all over the world use descriptive analytics. And this is where this is the space in which you're going to find a lot of the entry-level jobs in data analytics. So just a small example, let's say you work for a car manufacturing company and your boss wants to know how many cars of each model have been bought over the last 5 years, and that's the question he's posing to you, right? And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to obviously have to go into the company's records of the last 5 years, and then perform descriptive analytics on that data to present this report to your boss on the different um, selling of different models of cars over the last 5 years. So you're probably all familiar with reports that look like this: bar graphs, pie charts, trend lines, and that's a lot of what we're doing in descriptive analytics, is basically just making some sense of the data so that you can build on that. So any questions so far about descriptive analytics? Like I said, you use SQL, Excel, Power BI, Tableau, very simple tools like this to perform descriptive analytics. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask right now. Okay, so once you've answered the question, what, right? Once you have this data that kind of makes sense right now, that's not in the raw form anymore. You can see the data, you know what it's recording, each data point, each column. Once you have once you've answered the question what, the next question that usually arises is, okay, why is something happening? Why is this model selling more than this model? Why is the data looking a certain way here, whereas in this area it looks a little different? So that's what you're dealing with in the diagnostic stage. So in the diagnostic stage, you're trying to answer the question why. And what you're doing here is you're looking at the data and trying to figure out why something is happening. So for example, like I said, maybe customers are happy with one model of a car more than another one, and your boss asks you to find out why that might be happening. So the kind of techniques that come into play here are called, data mining. So what you're doing is you're basically trying to find relationships and dependencies between the different variables, that might be at play at a particular company. So, these are techniques like classification, correlation, clustering, regression, and you're trying to find out why the data is set up the way it is. So, I mean, for example, maybe the air conditioning in one model is better than the other model. Maybe the rear view mirrors is better in this model than that model. Maybe the engine is better here. So there might be just one factor as to why customers like one model more than the other. There might be a bunch of other factors. But what you're doing is you're doing these techniques like clustering, classification, just to understand exactly what the relationships are, what the dependencies are. You're trying to figure out what affects which feature affects another feature, which feature affects customer satisfaction, and that'll give you a better idea of why things are happening. So that's what you're doing in the second stage, which is the diagnostic stage. You know this stage, I feel like, let's say 60% of companies are using, 60 maybe 70% of companies, like the bigger companies are obviously using diagnostic and descriptive analytics just to find out the root cause of maybe why sales dipped or why sales spiked here, so that they can, adapt to that and make better decisions in the future. So this is also, a very powerful tool. Still pretty basic, but still very powerful. Any questions about diagnostic analytics before I move on? Okay, so the third stage, the predictive stage. So at this stage, what you're trying to do is you're trying to use the data that you have to predict up to a certain level of certainty what could happen. So there's no algorithm or technology that can tell you with 100% certainty what's going to happen in the future, but you can use probability theory and the relationships and dependencies that you establish in the diagnostic phase to predict a most likely outcome. So at this stage, you're using machine learning, you're using AI, you're learning how to model, you're learning how to run simulations, and you're using all these techniques together to come up with predictions that could help your company make more accurate decisions, or just come up with some different insights that they could use to make better decisions. So for example, I guess an everyday example would be you open your weather app and it has a weather forecast for the next week or the next few days. And how are they coming up with this? Obviously it's not 100% accurate all the time, but they do get it right most of the time. And what they're doing is just exactly what we've talked about, which is predictive analytics. They're using all this historic weather data that they have available to them and using the different dependencies and relationships between weather features and the probabilities to give you the most likely outcome. So I mean, for example, if the sky is dark and there's gray clouds in the sky at a certain time of the day, at a certain time of the year, they can probably predict to a certain level of accuracy that there's going to be rain that day. So that's just the kind of basic predictive analytics example that I can give you. And the best part about this is that they can actually make live updates to their data. So for example, suppose they get the prediction wrong on a particular day, they can say, okay, we made an error here. Why did we make that error? And then they can just correct for that error and update their model so that it accounts for that error and makes more accurate predictions later on. There's a couple we had a question the last time we did this about the ethical aspects of predictive analytics. So just to give an example of that, a few years ago, there was a huge scandal where this company kind of created this face recognition technique that would, you know, kind of predict whether someone was like a registered criminal or not. And what this model was doing, what this AI was doing was it was actually biased towards black and brown individuals. So it was actually predicting black and brown individuals who are completely innocent as criminals. So that's one place where there's a couple areas where there's obviously a lot of room for improvement in predictive analytics. And so the technology is constantly being improved. But at the base level, in terms of being used at companies to make better decisions, this becomes a very, very important and powerful tool that companies can use. And I don't think many companies are using it right now. There are definitely companies that do use it, but I don't think it's the majority. And so once it does get to the majority and jobs do start opening up in this space, this is going to be a huge space to get into in the future. So just another example of how powerful predictive analytics can be, um, and also just to illustrate why the model that you use and the data that you use has to be good is is this example. So the US elections, right? There was this guy named Nate Silver who used a probabilistic polling model to predict the outcome of the US elections. So he got it right in 2008, except for two states. And then he got it pretty much spot on in 2012. And that got him a lot of predictions. So I think what you see on the left here is the 2012 kind of chart of what his prediction was right here, and then what actually happened. So pretty much spot on. Um, the model kind of predicted exactly what was going to happen. So this garnered him a lot of attention, and he kind of did the same thing in 2016 with the same model. He performed the same kind of predictions in 2016, and this was his prediction that you see on the right. And obviously, this is absolutely not how it turned out in 2016. So that's why, I mean, I'm just trying to show you guys that it's a very powerful tool, but you also have to be super sure about what your data is and what your model is and how those two are going to be interacting for you to make accurate predictions. So like I said, it's a constantly evolving technology still. Lots of room for improvement, but once it does get refined and more accurate, this is going to be a huge space in the future. Any questions about predictive analytics or any of the stages so far? Okay, cool. So that brings us to the final stage, which is the prescriptive stage. So the same way a doctor, tries to prescribe you a medicine or, certain practices that will lead you to good health. That's the same thing that prescriptive analytics will do for a company. So you're trying to use techniques and methods to inform a company about the best next steps to take. So what you're doing at this stage is you're using a lot of machine learning, a lot of AI, but what you're placing a huge emphasis on is optimization. So the last three stages, if you think about it, you started with the raw data, you cleaned it up, you created dependencies, you created relationships, and then you use those dependencies and relationships to create predictions. But in this stage, what you're actually doing is you're saying, okay, this is my goal. How do I get there? So you're kind of working backwards down the chain. So think of it as a chain of one thing leading on to the next. But once you get here, you have all this data available to you. You're saying, okay, I need to get here. How do I use all this data to get to this final goal? So you're kind of working backwards down the chain. And this is a tool that's not used a lot these days, like just because um, it's still in its infant phases, so it's still not a technology that people have a mastery of yet, and it's still evolving a lot, much like predictive analytics. But once we do get a hang of this technology, it's going to be, as you will see in the next minute, it's going to be super powerful. So a couple examples of industries where this could have a huge impact are these. So healthcare, for example, let's say an insurance company is analyzing its data and it figures out that and this is actually something that's happened, I think. So an insurance company is looking at its data and it's figured out that a diabetic patient, like most of its diabetic patients, suffer from retinopathy, which is like an eye disease. And so with the information that they have now, they can use predictive and predictive analytics to kind of figure out, um, using the data on the diabetes patients, how many ophthalmology claims they're going to get as well. So once they do that, they can use prescriptive analytics to kind of look at scenarios where the reimbursement costs for ophthalmology increases, decreases, or holds steady. And so they can make business decisions in a cost-effective way that serves themselves and also serves their customers. So this is actually something I think that a couple years ago, I remember reading this article about this private healthcare company that figured out that they could use a scan of the retina of somebody, figure out if they had diabetes, and then kind of prescribe the best way forward for both the patient and for themselves. So, like I said, the technology is still in its infancy, but already it's being used for pretty powerful reasons. So let's talk about sales and marketing then. So sales, prescriptive analytics can kind of tell where the customers are in the purchasing process. So for example, you can know whether a customer is ready to buy something or whether they're on the fence about it. And depending on where they are, you can tend to the customers who are most likely to buy first, and then the ones who are on the fence later, to kind of maximize your profits. And so you can use prescriptive analytics to kind of give you a more streamlined and tailored, you know, objective in terms of dealing with your customers. So that could be super powerful in sales, marketing as well. Obviously, you can use prescriptive analytics to kind of figure out where or which areas of consumers you need to focus on more in order to maximize your profits, in order to increase the sales of your particular product or whatever it might be that you're marketing. So obviously it could be super powerful there as well. Let's talk about retail. I mean, retail, we obviously know the the big guns in retail are Amazon. So for example, every time you log into Amazon, right, you're always getting suggestions from the Amazon website as to what you should buy. And these, if you notice, are specific to you. It's going to be different for different people, right? And what they're doing is basically they're using all the data of your purchasing history, of your search history, whatever data they have available to them, and they're kind of figuring out what they should be pitching to you, um, the products that you're most likely to buy. So that's already a pretty powerful use of prescriptive analytics. I mean, who knows how much they made just off of that alone? Because obviously, I mean, in this digital day and age, like it's so easy to buy things that you might just see something and it's like, oh, I wanted to buy that, and so you just buy it, and it's just all based on prescriptive analytics, based off of your purchasing history and search history, and just the data that they have available to them. Um, higher education. So higher education, the example that came to mind. I mean, they don't use this to the best of my knowledge. This is not in use right now, but a good example that came to mind was, let's just say colleges have this data available to them where they can analyze which students are most likely to enroll with them, based on the classes that they offer, based on, the campus tours that they offer, what's drawing in students basically. And depending on what they figure out those features are, they can then tailor their kind of campaign towards students in a more streamlined way. So for example, let's just say there's a particular course or a particular professor at this university that's kind of drawing in students more. They can put more emphasis on that. Maybe it's their that's catching the eye of students, and they can advertise that more. And so this is just something that came to mind to me that colleges could use in the future, using prescriptive analytics. In banking, I think this technology is already being used, but I don't think it's super advanced yet. But in banking, what they do is they use data to help you catch fraud and even help you budget more and make better financial decisions.
Yes.
Is someone trying to say something?
Yes, yes. It was late. What dinosaur is it?
Oh, I think okay, cool. Um, So, like I was saying, banking, they use prescriptive analytics to help you catch fraud, help you budget better, help you make better financial decisions. So what they do is they basically, they have access to all your transaction data and what you're doing with your money. So if there's anything out of the blue, a huge deposit or a huge debit, maybe they can just, alert you that it might be fraud, or say, okay, you spent more in this month than you have in all previous months. I'm sure you guys have seen that before. This is very simple prescriptive analytics, but it's still pretty powerful in terms of what's available in the industry right now. Finally, sports. So y'all have probably seen the movie Moneyball, but if you haven't, it's basically about this baseball coach who uses data analytics to kind of figure out who to recruit to his team in order to win a championship. And so he didn't look at performances at all. He took everything out of the equation except the actual data on the paper. So he just looked at how they were performing in terms of numbers and just used those numbers to recruit players. And finally, I don't remember if they actually won the championship or anything, but I think they got to like the final stages or whatever of the season. So, and this was a movie made a while ago based on a true story. So it just shows you how powerful data can be even in sports. And, you know, especially in sports where things are decided like in, the minutia, data analytics could be a huge game changer in that field as well. So I think that brings me to the end of the data maturity model, the analytics maturity model. This is super important to understand just because, I've seen people ask about the maturity model in interviews, and it also helps to just know what your trajectory is going to be like in the data industry. So does anyone, if there's, if there's one takeaway from today, I hope it's this maturity model and just a better understanding of what the industry looks like. So any questions so far about the maturity model, any of the stages in particular, anything that you want to know more, please feel free to ask them.
Russell is asking, how will analytics work in cybersecurity?
So analytics in cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is the other hot field in tech right now. And I haven't personally worked in cybersecurity myself, but I know that analytics plays a huge part because you're using, all the data in databases available to you. Because, I mean, cybersecurity is essentially protecting against people entering a system unauthorized, right? And so you have your data in the database of obviously users who are authorized, users who are unauthorized. And then if you, I mean, at the very preliminary level, you see someone who's not supposed to enter, that you can use that data to immediately, create an alert or something. And then in the future, maybe you can use that one IP address that entered to kind of eliminate the threats from similar IP addresses or something like that. So that's to the best of my knowledge. Obviously, I haven't worked in the industry myself, but data definitely plays a huge role in cybersecurity as well. And like I said, it's used in every single um, industry, or it should be used in every single industry because everything today is data driven, and data will only make you make better decisions. Cool. Thank you, Russell, for your question. Any other questions from anybody? Don't be shy, guys. Just let loose. Like feel free to ask as many questions as you want. Okay, cool. I mean, we are gonna have time at the end to just have a little discussion as well. But if you feel like you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any point. So, what you see on your screen here are the basic combination of skills that you're going to need to both have and develop to be an effective data scientist. So let me start off by saying you don't have to be an expert in all aspects of these three domains that you see here, but it definitely helps to have experience in all of them. So let's start with the computer science domain that you see on your top left, right? So computer science is a huge subject. There are so many aspects, and you probably, I mean, I don't know anyone who's like an expert in everything there is to know about computer science. So what I will say is to be a good and effective data scientist or data analyst, you need to have some sort of programming knowledge. You need to know at least one or two programming languages, for example, Python or Java. And you also just need to know how computers work and, of course, machine learning and data science techniques like that, how to code them using online platforms like, Python notebooks and the such. So computer science is a huge part of what data analytics is. But like I said, you don't have to be an expert in everything about computer science. You just need to know the data related side of computer science. On the top right, you see math and statistics. So obviously, again, math is a very, very extensive subject. You don't need to be a math wizard or anything, but you definitely have to have your fundamentals down. For example, calculus, differential equations, and statistics would be the most important thing to have a deep understanding of when you're talking about data science. So that's all there is to be said about computer science and math, both very important to be a data analyst, to be an effective data analyst at least. You need to have a deep understanding of the data related aspects of these subjects. Finally, what you see on the bottom is the subject matter expertise, which I like to call the domain emphasis. So this is pretty much up to you guys what you would like your domain emphasis to be. It's essentially just asking you what space you would like to work in as a data analyst or as a data scientist. So for example, someone might want to work in healthcare, you become a domain expert in healthcare. Someone might want to work in sports, you become an expert on how data is used in sports. Someone might want to work in IT or banking, you become an expert in those respective fields. So the combination of these three domains is what makes you an effective data analyst. And I mean, the nice thing, I guess, about the domain emphasis is that you can choose what you want that to be. You can choose one, you can choose multiple. That just increases your reputability as a data scientist. So this is the combination of skills that you need to be an effective data scientist. And at Skillspire, we teach aspects of computer science, and we teach certain aspects of statistics. And the domain emphasis is completely up to you guys, but you are getting all the tools and all the skills that you require to become a good analyst. So that being said, let's talk about why you guys might want to choose Skillspire over like a university. So this is a super subjective topic. One person might be on one side of this, one person might be on the other. I'm just going to tell you a couple of the reasons why you might want to choose a boot camp over university, right? So for example, universities are super expensive. I went to university. It's money coming out of your own pocket for this, education that you're getting. Very, very expensive. Student loans are obviously a huge problem in the United States. So, I mean, it's a well-known fact that university is super expensive. You guys might not want to spend that much money on a university when you could get the same skills and develop the same skills in a boot camp. I mean, I'm not gonna, the whole argument of what the quality is of having a college name to back you in the job market. That's a whole different conversation. But I think that the skills, are the same regardless of whether you go to a boot camp or a university. So it's not like they're teaching different topics in both of them. You're learning the same things. It just might have a different people just might look at you a little differently in the market, which you can't help it. But I think what it comes down to is having the skills that you need to become a good data analyst. And once you develop the skills, there's no one that can tell you, oh, you don't have what the skills that are required to be a data analyst, because they're the same skills across the board. It doesn't matter where you go. Another thing about universities is that they make you take a bunch of courses that you don't really need, that you might not really want to take, and that takes up a lot of time. Obviously, you're paying for that as well, so you're losing a bunch of money not learning stuff that's going to help you as a data analyst or a computer scientist, or whatever you might want to do. University just makes you spend a bunch of time on courses that you don't want. And so that's another thing um, that I've heard a lot about, why universities might not be worth it at all. um, Another reason is that some of you might not be able to wait the 4 years it takes to get a degree. Y'all might need to actually start working, start earning soon, maybe in the next 4 months, maybe in the next 6 months, maybe in the next year. And waiting 4 years to get a degree that's going to get you pretty much the same job as you would get learning the same skills in a boot camp is just not an option. And so um, a huge plus about a boot camp is that it's a really quick, it's a very rigorous environment, but it goes by quick. And so you learn the same skills that you would learn over 4 years in, let's say, 4 months. And so that's a huge plus about going to a boot camp versus university. Um, and then I don't know about other boot camps, but here at Skillspire, we help with resume building, we help with LinkedIn profiling, we help with interview prep, and these are some of the most important aspects when it when it comes to finding a job. And then obviously, um, at least in my classes, I try to, and I'm sure, you know, in other boot camps as well. But here at Skillspire, we really work hard to create a sense of community and, you know, mentorship in our courses across Skillspire. And so we're here for our students. We help them with, you know, even things outside of the course. Like, for example, I've been helping some of my students with projects that they're doing outside of the course as well. And so that's something that you usually don't get in a lot of universities. Like, you're in a class with, like, let's say 1,000 people, and the professor doesn't even know who you are. And this is something that, you know, I've personally experienced as well. So, I mean, Phase, if you want, you can touch on this a little bit. I know you have a couple points that you might want to touch on. Um,
Yeah, I mean, so I would pretty much just echo what the sentiment that Samir has kind of been putting forth. I would just yeah, I mean, it's really kind of context dependent. For example, if you are 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and you have a full scholarship at a great computer science program or a great data science program, it's hard to argue against going for that, right? Because you're getting your education paid for, so the money is no longer a factor. It's really just the time, and so it's really context dependent when it comes to the whole debate of boot camp versus university. Most of the people, I would say, that we come across here at Skillspire, because we don't deal with as many 18-year-olds. Our age demographic is more 25 up, so like 25 to 45. So for that age demographic, waiting for 4 years, even for 2 years, if you just want to do a master's in computer science, it's just not feasible for a lot of people. And then the money factor as well. So, yeah, it really depends on what you want to do. You get with a boot camp, I think you can really kind of narrow in on one subject. So, for example, if you want to do full stack web development, you can just kind of dial in on that without the theory, without the English, the biology, without any of the other fluff. Or if you want to do data science, or if you want to do cybersecurity, you kind of get really lean into what you want to do without any additional kind of distractions. So that's one thing I would add. But yeah, I mean, it's really, if you would like for us to help you out if you're kind of debating over, whether you want to go to a university or boot camp, you can definitely hop on a call with us, and we can kind of figure out like what would be give you, I guess, our advice in terms of what would be the better decision for you personally based on your circumstance, your situation, your goals, what your current career path looks like. So yeah, that's all I would say regarding this.
Yep. Thank you, Fizz. So any questions so far about anything about Skillspire itself? I'm gonna, right after this, I'm just gonna touch on what we teach in the intro course and the advanced course, and then we can open it out for broader questions. But any questions about anything that's been covered so far? You can, feel free to unmute yourself or even post in the chat phase. I don't have access to the chat right now, so if anyone's asking any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So, okay, I'm guessing no questions so far. So let me just quickly, touch on what what we do here at Skillspire, right? Especially in terms of data analytics. So the syllabus and structure of the course at Skillspire is pretty rigorous, and it's a time commitment. But what comes out of that is you come out with, pretty much an expertise in the skills or topics and techniques that we're covering in our courses. So it's going to be a very fast learning environment. Not a lot of self-teaching to start, but as you go through the course, there's more and more that you kind of have to teach yourself and learn how to, navigate the different tools that you're dealing with. Obviously, as we mentioned before, it's a much faster and more affordable track into a new career. You know, instructors are industry professionals. For example, I myself am a software engineer. I did a data science degree at a good university. So everyone here is trained to teach and passionate about the work that they're doing. And we just want our students to have the skills that they need in order to make that either step up in the tech industry or jump from one industry into the tech industry. And I have a bunch of students in my current intro course who don't have prior experience in the tech industry at all, and a certification from Skillspire, could hold a lot of weight, especially when you're looking for your first job in the data industry. And once you're in here with us, it'll also help build your network. We have colleagues here at Skillspire who actively help you get connected with companies in Seattle, and I believe outside of Seattle as well. But you can build a network here at Skillspire, which will just give you a better chance of landing a job once you leave us. So that's a little bit about us. Let me tell you really quickly about what we do in the intro and advanced courses. So the intro course is broken up into three sections. As you can see here, Excel, SQL, Power BI. So in Excel, I've just touched a little bit here on what we deal with, but you're pretty much getting the full rundown of Excel. Once you finish Excel with us, you come out with pretty much mastery of Excel, which is super important. A lot of jobs these days at the entry level, you know, entry level positions require Excel and SQL knowledge. And so I just finished Excel, SQL, and right now we're doing Power BI. My students are actually working on their final projects in Power BI, and a lot of the techniques and topics that we dealt with in Excel transfer onto Power BI as well. And that kind of touches on what I was saying with the transferable skills, right? If you learn something in one aspect of, a technical tool, there's a huge chance that it transfers onto another tool as well. So Excel, very important. We place a lot of emphasis on Excel. It's very very rigorous at the start. It might be a bit daunting to start with, but once you get into the groove and once you get the hang of things, it becomes super fun. We work on a lot of projects, a lot of presentation, which makes it more collaborative. It makes it more exciting to come to class every day. We're not just it's not just lecture and homeworks. We're actually actively working with each other to explore different tools, explore different types of data, types of ways in which you can visualize and summarize the data. So Excel, super important. Then we move on to SQL, which in my opinion is probably going to be like your biggest takeaway from the intro course. And so, at least the biggest takeaway in terms of it'll help you step up into the advanced course a lot easier. So we place a lot of emphasis on SQL. By far the most rigorous part of the course. You're tested a lot. You're made to do a lot of homework at this stage, just because that it's a very easy. Um, I'm going to call it a language because it is a language. So it's a structured query language. It's an easy language to learn, but it takes a lot of practice in order to actually get good at it. And we're not here to just learn about things just so that we won't use them later, right? So we actually make our students get really good at SQL because that's what's going to get a foot in the door at a lot of data jobs in the industry right now. If you guys go on LinkedIn and look at all the data jobs available, like 80% of them will require some form of SQL knowledge. So SQL is a very important part of this course. And then finally, Power BI, which is just a visualization tool, like I said, ties in with a lot of what we do in Excel. So at this point of the course, I touch on the different aspects of Power BI. We talk about how we can use Power BI, the different tools, different visualizations that are available to us, and then what the students are working on right now actually are their final projects or their capstone projects, the final presentations that they're doing in Power BI. And so I it's kind of just a project where I told them pick a data set that you identify with, and kind of just come up with a report, come up with a dashboard, a Power BI dashboard that will tell your audience something about the data that they could not have known without you doing some kind of data analytics. And so that's what my students are working on right now. The presentations are actually going to be next week. We're all super excited for that. It's been a great course and it's been a great time. But yeah, that's what the intro course deals with. If you guys have any questions on this, feel free to ask me right after this, but let me quickly touch on what we do in the advanced course as well. So the advanced course is, you're learning a bunch of Python, you're learning exploratory data analysis, modeling, forecasting, machine learning, decision trees, neural networks, logistic regression, a bunch of these terms you guys have heard, being thrown around. But yeah, all this has to deal with a lot of the important techniques in data analytics that you're going to need moving forward. So the intro course, just to tie in with the maturity model that we talked about earlier, the intro course is a lot of descriptive analytics. So once you do the intro course with us, you're pretty much a pro at descriptive analytics. But to build on that, you need to do our advanced course, which will help you do, diagnostic, predictive, and then also some prescriptive analytics as well. So I would say for those of you who are thinking about taking these courses, I mean, um, it's not mandatory that you take the intro course before the advanced course, but I would advise to, first do the intro and then the advanced, just because one builds off the other. And so that's what we do here at Skillspire. That's what's dealt with at the courses, intro and advanced. And so that brings me to the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask me. But yeah, thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Samir. So yeah, guys, feel free to ask away. This is usually the best part of the workshop for students, at least, because they get to, ask any and all questions that you have, whether it's about the course, industry, concepts, technical questions, whatever it might be. Feel free to ask, because the floor is yours, and yeah, you have an industry expert here, and then I can help you out with anything related to like admissions or courses or things like that. So feel free, guys. Anything you guys want to know about. You can either type it in the chat or you can just unmute and ask away. Either way is fine. So while you guys, maybe think of some questions that you guys might have, our next intro to data analytics course actually starts up, I believe, January 10th. I think it's TBA right now. We need to kind of work out some of our logistics with instructors. A lot of our instructors are very busy, so that one is pending, but it should be somewhere around that time, whether either sometime in January, maybe March. Point is that it should be in Q1 of 2022. So, now's a great time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask away. We can, help you guys out. We do have our other courses as well. We have a round of cohorts starting up in January. We have full stack web development. We have cybersecurity. We have Java and cloud computing. So our courses cover kind of the whole 9 yards in terms of what's in tech. So if any of those are of interest to you as well, you can also feel free to ask about those. So Brekti asks, how many hours a week do I need to succeed in the intro course? So I'll let Samir answer this one, but before he does, I'll kind of throw in my 2 cents, even though I'm not coming to you from a technical perspective. I'm coming to you more from like a, I guess, mentorship perspective, given that, I'm in the marketing team, just in case you guys didn't know, and I speak with the students on occasion, and so the leads and prospective students. So I have an idea of like which students succeed and which students not so much. So what I will say is that it's really difficult to answer this question. I think Samir would say the same thing because it's going to vary, right? So it depends on what prior knowledge you come with. It depends on what your aptitudes are, what your skills are, and kind of how productive you are in the class as well. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. And so, it's tough. Of course, the course itself is 16 hours a week, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, you have to study additional hours on the side as well. So in total, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're having a tougher time grasping the concepts, you might have to put in like, a handful of hours on the side. If not, maybe a few hours here and there. But what I would say from like a mental perspective is like you kind of have to go into the course without the expectation that you're going to put in X amount of hours on the side. You have to kind of go into it with an open mind and be like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Because the students that I can tell you from, because I work directly with the career development team, and the students that really kind of like break into like really great jobs and really like push the boundaries of like what's possible are the ones who take a lot of initiative. The ones who like they don't just take the course and just kind of try to do the bare minimum. They go above and beyond. Like so they're very hungry for knowledge. They're working with our career development team to network and build their profiles and their projects and their resume, their LinkedIn, all that stuff. So yeah, that's what I would say is that it's better to go into it with a mindset of I'm going to do whatever it takes, regardless of how many hours, as opposed to going in thinking, okay, I have this amount of hours, I have to kind of squeeze it in, because you never know. You might find that like that mindset will limit you, and that you might kind of feel kind of pressed to like quit halfway through, which you don't want, right? Because we're not with Skillspire, we're not trying to get you to sign up to the course at all costs. Like we're not just trying to like push the course on you guys. We want to like actually help you guys. So like we're not going to tell you like this is not easy, right? Like you're trying to go into a hot field, regardless of what it is, whether it's web development, data science. It's not easy, right? It's going to be worth it if you put in the work, but it's not going to be a piece of cake. So that's, I guess, what I have to say on this, and I'll let Samir answer as well.
Yep, Faze made some very, very good points right there. So there's no set amount of hours per week that you're going to work, like he said. So I think, Barekti, you're asking specifically for the intro course. So I will say this, we are coming to the end of one of the cohorts right now, and it varies from week to week. So at the start, we're dealing with Excel. So a lot of my students had prior experience with Excel. And so things went really smooth there. People were catching on the concepts really easily, getting through the homeworks very easily, getting through their presentations very easily. So it was pretty much smooth sailing to start with. But once we got to SQL, that's when things got really, really tough because pretty much no one had a clue of what SQL was and had never worked with SQL before. And like I said, it's an easy language to grasp, but in order to get good at it, which is the goal, right? We're not trying to just learn something. We're trying to actually be good at it and be able to tell prospective employers that, okay, I have these skills, I've done this, I know SQL deeply enough that you can hire me and I will do a good job. So SQL is probably where you will put a lot of extra hours. Like every week there's a homework, every week there's a test. And so the SQL part of it, and that lasts for like 5 weeks of the course. So SQL is a huge chunk of the course, a lot of emphasis placed on SQL. So that's when it gets pretty rigorous. So you might be putting in maybe I mean, like Faye says, it's 16 hours per week, right? You're meeting Monday through Thursday for 3 hours and then 4 hours on Saturday. And the way it works is lecture on Monday and Wednesday, and then labs on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So it's 16 hours of just being in class. And then, like I said, in Excel, you're probably not putting a lot of time outside of that. I feel like the 16 hours is enough for Excel. But in SQL, I think you're definitely putting in extra time to study and practice yourself. Um, and then, like I said, once you get to Power BI, since you've already, built this relationship with data and, data analytics tools, it kind of becomes easier once you reach the Power BI stage. And a lot of the time you're just spending building your own final project, your own capstone project. So I guess that would be on on a student to student basis, like Faye said, and it just depends on how good you want your final project to be and how much time you're willing to put into it on the side. But just putting a little emphasis on what Faye just said, um, you know, we obviously cannot guarantee everyone is going to get a job coming out of the boot camp, right? That's not something that we can guarantee. But if you put in the work, if you develop these skills that we're teaching here and that we're touching on, um, there's there's basically no stopping you. Like I said, no one can tell you, oh, you can't do this just because you went to a boot camp. You can put right on your resume, you can say, I have these skills and I can do this, and this, and no one can deny you a job just because you've already developed the skills that are necessary. So it's just a matter of putting in the work. One of my best students in this cohort has never worked a full-time job before, just because she had to take care of her kids for the last like 10 years or whatever it is. But now she's here with us and she's putting in the hours, putting in the work. She comes up with some of the best presentations, the best projects. I'm actually very excited for the project that she's going to be presenting next week. It's a whole economic analysis of the U.S. economy over the last 10 years, which is pretty cool, right? Just based off of the tools we've learned in the intro course, she's been able to look into the U.S. economy for the last 10 years and come up with some pretty cool insights. So that's just an example of you can start from knowing absolutely nothing and then really build that into something that means a lot in the industry. So I guess that's all I have to say. I hope that answers your question directly, but yeah, thank you for asking that. A short answer would be, the 16 hours are good, but it just varies from week to week.
Cool. Okay, so Ricky says thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, so Marlo, you guys have class in St. Louis, online. So we don't have an in-person campus in St. Louis, but yes, we are online. So in case you guys didn't know, our physical, like in-person offices and locations are Bellevue, Washington, which is like a suburb of Seattle, Renton, Washington, and then here in Dallas, Texas, specifically Richardson. So Richardson is also a suburb of Dallas. So those are our three in-person campuses. As far as because of COVID, everything's taught online. So we haven't had an in-person course since like early 2020. And so yeah, it shouldn't that really for you, Marlo, that really shouldn't be an issue. We've had students take it from all across the country, East Coast, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a handful from California, Oregon, you know, Midwest, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we are working to secure an office in Chicago as well. So Skillspire is a very the company was founded in 2016, and the emphasis at the beginning was Washington, specifically the Seattle area, but we're slowly growing and expanding. And because of the online structure due to COVID, you can pretty much take the course wherever. So that really should. It's funny because we've actually had people from like Africa who I think we had someone from like Nigeria who was like, hey, can I take the course? And he didn't end up taking it, but the issue wasn't actually the time zone difference. He was like, oh yeah, that's not an issue. The issue was actually the finances. So it's funny because it's literally like however almost 10 hours ahead, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I mean, as long as because if you can't catch the in-person, like everything is live. So like for example, Samir just finished up his Saturday session with the students. So that was like live. So all the students were there live with him. So they can like interact with him, with the other students, ask questions, engage. But if you miss like the actual live session for whatever reason, we always record the sessions just like we're recording this workshop. So you can catch up later that same day, the next day, whatever it might be. But we do recommend that you come to the live sessions because it's just better overall. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Marlo. Yeah. So the online, yes, we do, and I think you should be good with that. based on what we've seen with students. And COVID, we have a new variant, so it's really tough to say when we'll have in-person courses again. So online should, it should suffice. And we do everything we can to give you the in-person feel. That's why we have it live. We don't give you just a bunch of recorded videos and just leave you to yourself, like some other schools do. We actually sit down with you and work with you actively. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Marlo. Okay. Any other?
So Rav has a question.
Hi, Smear and Faze, and it's a great discussions going on. So I have one question. Before that, I just want to tell what I know about data science and what experience I have. I started my career from Bengaluru, then in India, and I'm working from last 7 years. I'm working with one of the Ohio-based company. This is a startup. So right now I'm working with them. So when I working in startup, so I have my position is centralized. Like I do Python also, I do Alteryx, Tableau, I do IBM Watson, Big ML for predictions and all, and obviously marketing model like RFM. So I explore more like forecasting also, like in steel company. So I have very good knowledge about that, like in NLP also classifications. But where I stuck in that, like as per like in my company, they have different company for deployment. Like when I do some predictions in Python, so they have next question is like, can we put into deployment so that we just like a customer don't know about predictions and anything. They just want, okay, we put the parameters, we just want to the status, whether it is prediction yes or no, or like that, right? So my question is like, I'm using Python also now. I want to be more advanced into Python. Like first question is like, can I use this Flask framework? So can I deploy my model? And I more dig into Python also. But right now I'm working with company. So is there do you have module kind of that for working persons also, so that I can use particularly these skills like Python in advance and Flask, something like that. So, do you help me in that also?
So that's a good question, Rav. I'm actually happy you brought that up. So the most of the students we have in our courses usually don't have any prior experience with any of these tools, right? Like the furthest they have is pretty much just Excel, like I touched on for the intro course. So no one's actually worked in Python before, no one's actually worked with even SQL before. So it's actually nice to hear that you have a bunch of this experience. And so I'm actually familiar with everything you just said. Flask deployment is something that's important in the industry, but unfortunately, I don't think we'll be touching on that in the advanced data analytics course. But I mean, Faze probably knows better than me, but it's probably being touched on in a different course in Skillspire.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't know, maybe the Java course maybe. Um,
Okay.
but I don't think maybe if you did decide to take the advanced course, maybe I could one-on-one with you and help you with stuff like that. Like I said, I do help my students with stuff outside of the course as well, right? But it sounds like you actually already know um
Mm-hmm.
a lot of what we're dealing with in the advanced course. Maybe not, everything, but like you have enough, obviously you have enough knowledge to be in a position where you're using some of that, right? So um so yeah, that's the best answer I have for you. I do understand your issue though, like the Flask deployment and deploying the actual model to customers and stuff. I've actually worked on a project that did that. It was super difficult, but once we did that, it was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, I guess the advanced course, I'm not sure if you
Okay.
took it, how much it would help you with that specific problem that you're having.
Yeah, no issue. Yeah, no issue, no problem. Yeah, because what happened, I keep searching, like I'm struggling from couple of months. I'm not able to find even online. They have stuff like that, but it's difficult sometimes to dealing with Flask. So that's why I thought rather than distracting, I just want to go straight in that because only one where I lag in that area. So that's why I was asking if something I could find in that. It's no
I
problem. I
no,
understand.
I totally understand. Like I pretty much went through the same the same kind of thing that you're going through for a project I did in college. So Flask is, I mean, it's an intersection of both full stack and data analytics, right? You're trying to deploy this model that you've created into, like, let's say a web browser or like a plugin or something like that, right?
Right.
Um so yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we don't have something
Yeah, yeah,
that streamlined. But great question though. Thank you for. I mean,
yeah. Even
maybe you can speak to somebody who's working in the full stack
right,
side of
right.
things for Skillspire. Faze can maybe help you get connected with them really quickly. You
And
could see.
or if I divert this question, sorry for interrupting you.
No
If I
worries, no
divert,
worries.
if I hold on that Flask, so if I just want like, what about advanced Python? You do that basic Pythons, or you make master in functions and loop and all, right? Classes also.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be touching on Python, the
Okay.
basics. They're going to be a master in all of them. And like I said, I'm going to be touching on modeling as well, feature
Mhm.
engineering, stuff like that.
Right.
EDA, so exploratory data analysis, that a lot of emphasis is going to be placed
Yeah,
on that
that.
because that's where the starting jobs are for a data analyst, right? And those are usually the students that we're getting who are trying to get a new start in data analytics. So
Right.
we're going to be touching on that. But there will be some, I don't expect everyone to be an expert at the
Right.
end of
Right.
it, but there will be advanced topics as well.
Right.
So,
Even I did in Visual Studio, like I made some small applications, because that at initial level we can do that in that, but so much coding in that, that is a different
yeah,
level of you do in Visual Studio 7
yeah,
8 programming apart from data science. Data science is too wide, right? AI,
exactly,
machine learning, deep learning, and NLP. So but
exactly.
yeah, thanks for your like
Of
information, but
course.
really good
Of
to
course,
help.
but I mean, it's good to hear. It sounds like you have a lot of the skills already, so I'm pretty sure you must be on a good track. Anyways, like NLP is a huge thing,
Right.
and obviously you're doing modeling, deploying, and all this stuff. So you should be in a great spot. But yeah, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Marlo, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering that how can you sit down with one-on-one with you guys to get the information?
So maybe Faze, you can answer that really quickly.
Yeah. So Marlo, are you talking like with like one of our like mentors to like figure out like what would be best for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna post a few things in the chat. I'm gonna post my email. And then so I'll post my email. I'll post my LinkedIn, and then I'll also post the link to where you can schedule like a meeting, a one-on-one meeting with us. Excuse me. And in that meeting, you can sit down with actually one of our career development mentors, and they'll, you can choose however long you want, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever you want, and you can sit down with them, and they'll like really kind of break it down for you and help you figure out like what is really kind of best for you. So I'll leave all these options for you and everyone else in the chat, and whichever one you can also email me directly, and I can link it up for you if you prefer that. Either way is fine. I'm just giving you guys a different options. So here's my email, and then let me post my LinkedIn and then my the meeting link as well.
So you have to pay for the school on my class first, right?
I'm sorry, what was that, Marlo?
Oh, you have to pay for the class first
So we have different
to
yeah, so we have different
to
options
enroll.
in terms of like tuition. We have scholarships, we have different types of discounts, we have payment plans. So paying before the course upfront is one option. paying monthly as you go over like I think it's between 3 and 6 months, depending on the course, or sorry, 4 and 6 months, depending on the course, is another option. So you can break it down into like smaller payments. So we have different kinds of options. If you're a veteran, we are approved to accept GI Bill benefits as well. So we've had a lot of veteran students. Yeah, that's something also that if you want to get on a call with us, we can also work that out with you, because I would say most people don't I guess commit straight up, like they don't pay the entire tuition up front for the course. If you can, you do get a discount for that, but we understand that it's not feasible for a lot of people to spend multiple thousands of dollars just straight up. So that's why we have all these payment plans to kind of make it easy for you guys, and that's why we have scholarships as well. We work with different like partner organizations in the area, and sometimes depending on the student, they can fund you and help you out with either all of your tuition or some of your tuition, depending on your circumstance. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Marlo. Okay, so I'm putting in my LinkedIn here. Let me know if these links work. They should work, but just to be sure. Sorry, just letting someone in. Yeah. So let me go ahead and post the meeting link right now. While I'm getting that, does anyone else have any questions? Okay, so here's the link. Yeah, okay, here's the link. Let me know if this works, Marlo. It should. I just tested it out, but just to be sure. Anyone else have any questions? It's up to you guys. We're here. As long as you guys have questions, we'll be here. So, feel free to ask away. It's a great opportunity for you guys. Feel free to ask on the chat, or you can also unmute yourself and just ask straight away as well. Okay, so if no one has any questions, that pretty much wraps up what we have for you guys today. If you guys haven't already, feel free to put your email into the chat. We host workshops like these roughly every 2 weeks, is what we try. With the holidays kind of in full swing right now, the next projected one is supposed to be on the 18th. I'll drop the link for that one in the chat. That one is, if we don't get enough signups, we might end up postponing that or changing it to a different subject like cybersecurity. But I'll go ahead and post the link for that one in the chat. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Brett, for posting your email. Yeah, feel free to post your email, guys. We'll keep you up to date on future free workshops just like this one. All of our workshops are free, by the way, guys. So no worries there. And we'll keep you posted on our blog, our newsletters, informative content, testimonials, case studies, all kinds of things. So, and you can always unsubscribe whenever you want. So if you're not interested in breaking into tech, or you've chosen a different path, that's completely fine. You can always unsubscribe whenever you want. This is just to really help you guys out.
Hey,
so,
a question.
Yes, is this Brett? Who's this? I'm sorry.
On? Yeah, here.
Sean. Okay, yeah.
Just lately, sorry. Just wondering. It seems like there's a, I see on the meetup, I see like 60 people join, but this is pretty new to me. Do you have any official website to outline, the goal for this meetup and roadmap, long-term plan, or any other ways to contribute, join those type of information? So stated somewhere I can look up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sean. I don't think I understood your question properly. Are you asking like, do we have a website separate from Meetup where we?
Oh yeah, my question actually is simple. Yeah, it's basically, do you have like any official places like web page to look up, like the goal for this meetup, like for this forum? Yeah.
Yeah. So
or something, guidelines how to participate and use this forum better, like something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So our Meetup.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you came from Meetup, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So our Meetup. Typically with workshops, we people usually come from 3 different places. So we have Facebook, social media, Instagram. We have our Meetup group, which is our Skillspire Data Analytics Meetup, and then we also have our leads, so our contacts that we have in our CRM already. So in terms of like Meetup is really it's kind of the, how do you say it? So it's kind of like most of the people will come in through Meetup. And so I don't know if I can give you like, there's not really like a separate place. Usually the follow-up, the subsequent action that you would take after the workshop is that you could get on a call with us. We can help you out for free. Of course, everything is free, don't worry. You can email us, we'll help you out. Or you can attend another workshop in the future, that's also completely fine. So I hope that answers your question. I don't think we have exactly what you're referring to. So the Meetup is really that sort of tool for us, what you're referring to. We don't have anything separate from that we have that kind of platform for people. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So Meetup, yeah, we post all of our upcoming workshops on Meetup, but we don't really have a separate platform, aside from if you want to get into contact with us or schedule like a free call or meeting with us. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, great. Yeah, I look it up, do some a little bit more learning first. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. If you want, what I'll do is I'll just post our website in the chat. You can feel free to just.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so Brekti, when does the next class for the intro class start, and when is the deadline to register? Yes, so intro course starts, right now the projected date is January 10th. The reason why that's TBA is because, or I guess I shouldn't say TBA, it's more kind of on the fence, is because a lot of our instructors are very busy. So right now we currently have 2 instructors who, basically have the knowledge to teach the data analytics courses, or 3 actually. One of them is brand new. Samir is one of them. We have 2 more. And they're all very busy between teaching with Skillspire and of course their full-time jobs. Like all of our instructors are working full-time jobs. Some of them actually have other stuff on the side, which is actually kind of crazy. So they're all very busy. And so that date, that January 10th date is not fixed. If it won't be then, it'll be maybe later on in January, or latest I think would be March. So yeah, I apologize that I can't kind of give you a set date. I don't want to say a date and then I don't want you to be disappointed if it changes later on. So that's why I'm telling you upfront kind of right now. As for the deadline to register, you can, there's not really a deadline to register. We do have certain perks of registering early, like we have an early bird scholarship. So if you register for the course at least 2 weeks before the actual start date, you will get $250 off. And then we also have like an upfront scholarship. So if you pay the entire tuition amount upfront in one single payment, instead of going for the monthly payments, you'll get another $250 off as well. So, and then we do have some other ones, like we have like a Bring Your Buddy scholarship, where if you can, if you bring like a family or a friend or whoever, an acquaintance, and refer them to us, that's additional scholarship money as well. I forgot the exact details and amount of that scholarship, so I don't want to say anything, but if you want to follow up with us in like a free meeting or call, one of our team members can give you more details on that scholarship as well. So yeah, sorry to I went off on a tangent. There's not really a deadline to register. You could technically register like a week after the course starts, but you know you would be missing out on a lot of the perks. But again, you know it's really up to you. I'm sorry. Was someone asking a question? Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question correctly as far as the deadline to register. You're welcome. So Marlo, I see that you put your email in the chat. Is it? I just want to make sure that it wasn't a typo. It says Mario, right? I just want to make sure it's. It's supposed to be Marlo? I'm guessing.
Marlo.
Marlo. Okay. I think it says Mario, so I'll just make a note of that. Yeah. Okay. So Samir put his LinkedIn profile. Let me go ahead and post the website on the chat as well, so you guys can look through that. Any other questions from anyone? Whether it's about the course, you know, anything else, technical questions, the field, the industry, anything at all. All right, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have for you guys today. It looks like there are no more questions. So I've put my email, my LinkedIn, and the HubSpot, our free meeting slash consultation call link where you can book a free meeting with us whenever you want in the chat as well. So between these three, and Samir also put his LinkedIn as well. So yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn, guys. Feel free to email me. And you know, also, you know, feel free to book a meeting with us, and we'd love to speak with you. But yeah, that's all we have for you guys today. If you haven't already, feel free to put your email in the chat, and we'll keep you posted. You know, future events, updates, things like that. But yeah, that's it for us, guys. Thank you all very much once again for joining us on a Saturday, especially in December. And I hope you all have an amazing weekend, and I wish you the best of luck in whatever path you're going down, whether it's tech or otherwise. I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Does anyone here still have any questions? You know, I'll be on until you guys until the call's over. So you know, if you do have anything. Patrick and Rob, do you guys have any questions?